Welcome to The Average Man. This is Timothy Bennett here, and with me is Aram Banian and Jason Chandler.
Hello.
Hey.
So today, or tonight, we are going to be doing another interview, and this time it is going to be Aram, which is on the spotlight. So let's get right into it. Jason, why don't you start us off with some questions?
All right. Well, I don't know Aram very well, as we've never hung out in real life. I've only gotten to know him on this podcast. So
It's true.
My questions are kind of like things that I've caught on during the episodes or whatever. So you had plans to be a chef, I assume, because you went to cooking college, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I did the culinary program at the local tech college.
And were you planning on going to New York or LA or what were your plans with that? Because they have to be big if you're going to go to cooking college, right?
I mean, so I didn't go to the big name schools. Like I didn't go to the Cordon Bleu. I didn't go to the CIA or anything like that. Like I literally went to the local technical college and did the 1-year program. I've always said I'm not the kind of chef you'll find with like tweezers in my hand. I'm not the kind of guy. Plating is... I don't make my plates an art piece.
Right. I always found that annoying.
It has its place. I've never been one to like, I don't have that level of obsessiveness, I guess would be the right way to say it. Like I don't
it's all
feel the need to have like the plate look an exact way as long as the food is presented properly.
You don't want a messy plate by any means, but
right.
you want
I like a
something
clean plate, but I don't feel like the need. Like I'm not going to spread flowers all over the plate. I'm not going to make it look like some kind of picture. Those are beautiful, and like I applaud people that can manage it. It's not me.
You don't got the patience for that.
I don't have the patience. I don't have the hand for it. Like, I'm I'm kind of ham-handed.
Not to mention, nobody around here is going to pay like $100 a dish.
No, that's why
it's not appreciated around here for sure.
And you have to move to New York, to LA,
or in the cities. Minneapolis has a large culinary, what do you call it, culture, but it's just I know what you're saying.
It's definitely, the area is not appreciative of that sort of process. I'm more than willing to do unique things where like I'll experiment with ingredients, but yeah, like presentation wise, you're not going to find, like I think I said in an interview to a place I was trying to be the chef at, I thought, you're not going to find me with a pair of tweezers. I'm not going to be there like meticulously like piecing things together in a certain pattern to make it go a certain way.
But so going to that school, having that experience, you could probably put together a menu. You know the science behind and why things fuse together.
Yep. I mean, I've always had I feel like I've always kind of had a knack for flavor combinations.
Okay.
It's always kind of come, I felt easy to me. I could be wrong. No one's ever told me otherwise, I'll put it that way. But yeah, I can put together a menu. I know how to price one. I know how to assemble one. I know what I would think is proper. There's a certain problem you see in certain restaurants. We've talked about other places that we've worked where menus were just too big. And all of a sudden you have too many options. You give customers too many options, that creates too many problems because then all of a sudden customers want to augment. Yeah. And that just sets you up for failure because something's going to get missed. Someone's going to be upset and then there's going to be problems. So it comes back to the KISS rule, keep it simple, stupid. Like I've always contended that you have four items in each category, 4 apps, 4 salads, 4 sandwiches or entrees, and a couple desserts. If you do something well, that'll be done enough. You don't have to. It's quality over quantity for me. I've always said that I'd rather do a few items very well as opposed to doing several items mediocre. That's always been my philosophy.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
Yeah. That's kind of my philosophy as far as that goes.
There's a fine art to integrity with food. And this area has no respect for it.
Right.
It's true.
It's very much this area is really one of those places where franchises and big name corporate stores thrive. Because everything's formulaic. There's no deviation.
Yep. It's expected comfort food.
Yeah.
They want to go everywhere and be able to get the same exact thing in a different place.
Exactly. No, and
That's very
he's not
true.
wrong. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
That's why, like, if you look at, I currently work for them. We both worked for them at some point. The Lettuce Company, in general, like, there's a lot of the same formula in each of their restaurants. There's deviations, obviously, to make them different, but there's a lot of the same stuff as well. And that's because it all works in this area.
Yeah.
Demographic is a real thing, especially in the food industry. And it really upsets me that companies aren't willing to take the effort, especially if you're a locally large business
Like the Lettuces,
and they don't want to accept that. They want everything to be across the board this, but because it sells in one place doesn't mean it's going to sell in another.
Right.
And that's where I feel like you should, as a business, you should adapt and acclimate to your client, to your clientele, which is demographic.
Yeah, for
Your
sure.
demographic says this, but if you go into Iowa, what sells in Iowa doesn't sell in the same in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So,
What's your question for him, Tim, since you're next in line?
other than some of the, I mean, I know you real well.
Yeah. We've known each other almost 10 years.
Yeah. And out of these, several years of knowing each other, you haven't had what I would call a very exciting life.
Yeah.
Not to
No, you're
be
not wrong.
insulting. It's more of just you just kind of, not a lot of big things have happened to
Nope.
you, and you
Yeah.
really haven't had to take a lot of big chances or big risk or, nothing major. It's
No, I've definitely lived a very quiet sort of life.
very kind of content,
Yeah.
which is not bad for some people. But out of all that, I haven't really seen a lot of what I would consider failures or a lot of successful goals.
Mhm.
So, from somebody who hasn't seen that, what would you say would be some of your biggest failures in your life and some of the successful goals that you can proudly say, "Hey, I've done this."
As far as successes, I've been able to achieve, management in companies where, like, I got to actually, like, learn the ropes of, like, what comes with running a restaurant or running a kitchen, I should say. I won't say I run a restaurant because I'm not cut out for front of the house. I don't have the patience or, like, the mindset for that. But I've gotten to learn the ropes, and, like, at Boulder, I got to be the assistant kitchen manager there, and then I moved on to open another restaurant for the Lettuce Company. So I got to open a restaurant and be the manager of it for a while, and that was, I think, a big boon for me. I got to learn hiring processes, like things that worked and didn't work. I mean, I have my failures in so much as hiring because there are plenty of people I hired that didn't work out. Unfortunately, this is one of those areas where, like, I was just kind of trying to put bodies in because I needed them.
Which never works out.
It never works out, but I also, like, and as critical as I was when I wasn't a manager, being able to say, hey, why are we just putting bodies? Once I got into that position, like, we're going to open soon. You don't have anybody. All of a sudden it became, okay, well, I got to start putting bodies in here. So I got to see the reverse side of that coin. So I think that was definitely helpful. And for me to be able to say from a mindset, I'm able to look better at management and be like, okay, well, my previous criticisms may not have been exactly on point. So, like, I have a better understanding from that respect.
Yeah. Now that you've been in those shoes,
I can see where
retrospectively you can say, hey,
I can see
maybe
reasonings, if not like the fact that they were right, I can see at least the reasoning why they did it. And I feel like that's a success. Like, to be able to see that side of the coin, not everybody gets that. Some people just stay on the line, or they don't really progress and they just sit and bitch about it.
And then I think that applies to your front of the house comment as well. I'm assuming that you've never really have experience in the front of the house.
No, I like I say, I mean, I've done bits and pieces. Like Seven West, I had some contact with the front of the house, in so much like we ran the food.
Because I went through the same thing as an assistant general manager, so I was like, all right, it's time to go throw myself in the deep end from being the kitchen manager, always hiding in the back.
Yeah.
I'm saying my point being is that you can get used to the front of the house as well.
Right.
Like it's a tough transition and it's annoying because, whatever, but I think you could do it and don't limit yourself.
It's a different beast all in the same cave.
But it's all the same, like, recycled lines and way to deal with these recycled reoccurring problems from.
And even when I was the assistant kitchen manager at Boulder and Tim and I were working together, I even had the concept then to, make the front of the house managers come back and hang out for like a week on the line and learn how it feels to be in the midst of that when things are happening, and then to see our side of the perspective.
Anybody that's going to be ignorantly judging and being negative through the window, they should definitely take
not even like from the frame of them being judgmental or ignorant, just for them to understand it. And the same thing, reverse that around. Have your kitchen management staff out front, bussing tables, hosting, doing not taking orders, but like doing the more minor shit to
at least running food and listening to the complaints,
being out there and interacting and seeing how it is out there versus in the back, so that like they can understand and calm the kitchen down to be able to say, okay, hey, this is what's going on out there. I know it sucks, but they're having a hard time too.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, kitchens have this.
There's always that divide.
Have this weird, unnecessary separation between front of the house and back of the house. And I think a lot of times that stems from the kitchen wanting to be separate from, like the chef does what the chef needs to do or whatever, and the servers deal with whatever.
I feel like there's always that resentment that the kitchen, regardless of like what place you're at, kitchen always sees the server crew as having an easier time of it, regardless of what's going on. Yeah. Like kitchen always sees them as, not super bright, and lazy, or like they just kind of coast along.
That's because they're only around the area during the times they can be lazy.
Exactly.
When you don't see a server, that means they're busting their ass.
Well, right, and that comes from guys that have been in the business long enough to know that.
Yeah, yeah.
You got the young guys who just see the servers. I definitely went
to the same scenario you just explained. I was an ignorant or angry 20-year-old cook. Stepped up, learned, filled in shoes I never thought I would, and then I totally changed my personality and perspective for the better.
Personally, I got pretty lucky, and I've never felt that need.
Right.
I was never one to yell at servers for anything or anything like that, because in the end, I can't do it without them.
Right.
Right.
And that was the first thing that it's always stuck with me is I'm not going to serve this food. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Even if they mess up, still, I have to fix it. Because that's my job.
I haven't done it since I haven't done it over.
I've always been.
Not a lot of people.
15 years.
Not a lot of people have had that kind of view. Especially younger kids that kind of go into that kitchen
and that's
mentality.
What it is. Yeah, young 20s.
Yep. I got lucky with having a different perspective of going into it. This is how it.
Yeah, from your interview, growing up the way you grew up gave you.
Yep.
Mental training early on is what you were explaining.
Yep.
Give that episode a listen and you'll know what I'm talking about.
I've always been ambivalent about that sort of stuff. Like in my mind, it was always, I chose to be in the kitchen. Why should I give a shit what the servers make? Servers are doing their job, as long as that's
that
whatever.
Whole argument's annoying to me. They have good and bad days. It all evens out to a highly nice.
Yeah. I'm doing what I want to do. Like, I get paid what I get paid. Yeah. That's the scope of it. Like, that's it.
So you just kind of talked about your successes, but
bring up them failures.
What about your failures?
I feel probably my biggest failure is that I coasted for too long. I let family, not family stuff, but I let the whims of others kind of dictate a little more than it should have what I did with my career and what I did with my job, what I did as far as my commitment to my job versus my commitment to other things. And it's not, I don't resent anybody, and, obviously they had their reasons for it, but, it definitely was a detriment to my career, I guess. And I'm not totally without blame in that. I let it happen. I simply just accepted that was what was going to happen and went with
You're
it.
basically your assumption about it is that there might be more of a possibility if it wasn't hindering you in some way that you could have progressed further into what you kind of ideally wanted.
Maybe not even further, but like faster. Like I may have accomplished what I've accomplished. Like I've been a chef, and I think that's a big boon for me. Like it's one of the best years or so of my life was, when I was a chef and I got to create a menu. I got to run my shit. I got to feel proud about the stuff I was putting out because people were enjoying it and it was my stuff. But I feel like I probably could have. There's parts of me that believe I could have attained that sooner had I not had other aspects of my life that took precedent.
For sure.
And that's personal stuff that was just in me and family stuff, things like that just sort of took over. So that'd probably be my biggest failure. And it's not like a failure I regret. It's just what I'd consider a failure.
Basically, your failure of allowing it to happen.
Yeah, I let it happen. I didn't do anything about it sooner.
All right. My question is, you seem emotionally disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And I only noticed that through getting to know you on this podcast because I am too.
Right.
And I also relate to that coasting through life and riding the middle ground shit as well for too long. You do know you're emotionally disconnected.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you blame family, just some kind of event, or just the way
honestly
your brain
speaking,
works?
I couldn't pinpoint when it happened. I only know when I noticed. A few years back, a friend of mine passed away, and she died in a car crash, and we went to her memorial, and everyone around me, like my ex, all my friends, like she was someone who I'd known over a decade. We knew each other in high school. She was one of my best friends. We had drifted apart for a while. So, we weren't super close anymore, but she still had been a big part of my life for a long time. And everyone around me is in tears. And I felt jack shit. Like, it's like I tell people, like, I could have been the DMV for how I felt. It was just kind of me just hanging around a bunch of people that were sad, and I didn't know how to feel.
Damn.
And even to this day, like, I still feel fucked up over the fact that I still can't muster an emotional response to that.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't have emotional responses to stuff. Like, I'm moved at certain things. Like, if I see it in a movie or I read in a book, things, like, I'm moved, and like I'll be moved to tears. But like, real life emotional stuff doesn't affect me.
Would you label it as a defense mechanism? Whether you know it or not?
Probably. Because it would make the most sense that I just shut down and as opposed to feeling things. Because, and this is the last few years of my relationship. I've been single for 6 or so months now. Last few years of my relationship weren't happy.
Yeah.
We had a lot of problems. We've buried the hatchet a lot on a lot of stuff. We've come to grips with it. We're happier single now, but like a lot of times she's like, you don't care. It's like, it's not that I don't care. But like, I didn't know how to tell her, like, I don't feel anything.
Right.
Like, I feel a lot of the things I knew conceptually how I should feel, but like, I didn't feel it. Mm-hmm. So that's shit I'm working on. But yeah, it's probably mostly a defense mechanism.
Right.
Be my guess.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't make you feel judged. I relate to that shit as well. Like,
it's fine. I tell people a lot these days. Like I hate I hate the fact that I'm emotionally cut off. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't try to be. I don't want to be. It's just kind of how I am.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've had a conversation about that, and some of the ththings that we've talked about was losing your mother at a pretty young age, and
13,
and you basically didn't really know how to handle it, I guess, in a way that would have been what's considered appropriate, but it was like
My family was more of like, you just sort of took what happened,
and moved on.
you just
with your
moved
life.
forward.
Yep.
Like you didn't really deal with it. You didn't like dwell on
That's
it. You
our
just moved
generation for
yeah.
sure.
Yep.
You know, and that's
and
that's
you
just how it
had-
is.
You did. Unfortunately, though, I think some of the issues is that you had a family disconnection.
Oh, for sure.
Your family and overall perspective from your mother to your father. Your mother, it sounds like, is probably the most emotionally coddling affection that you may have ever gotten.
Mhm.
But once
Which wasn't
again,
terribly much now thinking about it, but
right. But once again, losing her at such a young age.
it's I don't know if it's like a young age. I mean, it is, but I think it's more of an awkward age because
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
13,
smack dab in the
12,
middle of
13,
puberty.
yep.
going through all that shit,
Yep.
and then couple that with the fact that my dad moved me right before,
Ooh.
like I moved here to Minnesota. I think I arrived a week before high school started.
Jesus.
So there was that. My two sides of my family are dynamically different. If I had to say it, my mom's side of the family is very blue collar. Like my uncle, who's really the only surviving member right now of that family, works at a car dealership detailing cars, and they've all been doing that. Like my mom was like a night clerk at a hotel. My aunt, she fucking cleaned houses. So she's very blue collar, whereas like my dad's side of the family, my dad's a professor. My aunt was a professor. My uncle is like a big sales rep for like FedEx. Like they all are more white collar. So there's a kind of a family dynamically different in those two sides. So with that, like I didn't spend all my time with my dad's side of the family. They're probably more emotionally present than my mom's side of the family. But my mom's side of the family is who I lived with, who I grew up with, so I knew them. So that's how I grew up. So I know how to deal with stuff that way.
Yep.
And then so like moving out here, all my family's still out on the East Coast. Nobody lives out here but my dad and me and my sister.
Yep.
And I don't have a very close relationship with either of those.
Right.
So like
I've known you this long, and I've never met your sister.
Yeah,
You've maybe talked about her a handful of times over the years.
we're not close.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, and like I don't like it, but at the same time, it's kind of just the dynamic of our relationship at this point.
You've accepted it.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
Yep.
When we see each other, like we're cordial, like we talk. Like the time she's been with my son, she's great with him.
Yep.
It's just we just dynamically don't mesh.
Yep.
And it's sad, but that's just how it is.
Have you, in that kind of, I guess, awareness with your dynamic of family and stuff like that, how important is family to you then? Are you the kind of guy that would rather? I mean, you have a son,
Yeah.
so you've had a family of your own, but are you the kind of guy that would rather be a bachelor, be doing his own thing, not having that kind of responsibility, or do you feel that there's a certain?
So obviously I come from a broken home. My mom left my dad when I was 2 months old. So I grew up seeing my dad for like, I don't know, maybe a week or two out of the year for a long time. So a lot of that, like I ride the line on it, I guess would be the right way to say it. Like I want to be there for my son and I love him dearly and I wouldn't change the world like for anything. But there are times where, and I say this jokingly, but I actually am very serious. There are times where I look at myself and say, I'm probably better cut out for like an uncle role or something like that, where like I can be around him, but like not be responsible for him. And there are times where like I say, I wouldn't change the world, for anything. But there are times where I feel like I'm better suited to be an uncle, and that sometimes I feel like I'm doing him a disservice being his father.
You don't feel like you're just cut out to be a dad or to be a father.
And it's nothing against him. I think he has his own needs. Being on the spectrum, that probably it provides a certain extra hardships here and there. But he's a wonderful child and he's a sweet kid. And there are times where I just think he deserves much better than me. But yeah, I feel like to some degree, I mean, I think all fathers go through that. Fine, fuck you guys.
Well,
I was being vulnerable for a moment. All right.
To
you can be vulnerable.
back this up and some kind of credibility. Like Liam, well, he's 6, and you honored me with the idea or with the fact of being one of his godparents, and
yeah.
I haven't really been there at all for so much of his life. I mean, I was there when he was born. I was there for maybe the first couple years, not a couple years, like first year of his birth or whatever. But then, we kind of parted.
We drifted for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just recently, and he grew so fast.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that maybe there are things that could be done better or whatever. I mean, we all, we were saying, we all could be a better parent in some shape or form, but he is a pretty happy kid.
He is.
And you're with the challenges that you talk about with me, especially, in private and stuff like that. I can only imagine the patience and the challenge it does bring to one. But once again, he's a happy kid. He's a healthy kid.
Yeah.
And that's really all that matters. And you guys are not the worst parents by far.
Yeah,
in the world, and not even in the surrounding neighborhood.
And don't let traditional family values and other things that have been make you feel like you're doing something wrong. As long as you got the healthy and the happy thing that Tim was talking about, that's all that really matters. However you go about it.
But what you are saying, I do understand. I do understand what you are saying, and honestly, it's something I haven't felt, but it is a conundrum to feel.
Yeah.
Because there's no real answer, and it's either you either act upon those feelings, which then might put you in a different category, or you just feel those feelings going, you know what, at least I'm aware of how I'm feeling, I can do better, or whatever it is. Right. And honestly, you haven't quit, and that's better than my dad did. So
it's true.
I mean, growing up and all our dad stories and shit from the 70s, 50s, going back, all you have to do is come home. Be around. You just have
to be there.
And that right there makes people go, "You're such a great dad." And it's like, "Nah."
And honestly, that's just it. Like, you, no matter what, when he needs you, whether or not it's by choice of his or someone else's, you're there.
Whether or not you roll your eyes or not on your way there, you go there. That's all that matters. So you take care of the problem.
As much as you may try to discredit yourself a little bit, you are a very decent dad, and that's better than most.
Decent's all I aim for.
So
that's that middle ground,
right?
I don't think fantastic is appropriate.
No,
because then you're setting a bar that just doesn't seem. What are you doing to that child?
I had, honestly speaking, Tim, if I had to peg a fantastic dad, you're the one that I would probably peg.
Oh.
Like, of all the dads that I know, and I know a fair few, you seem to go out of your way for your child. And
I grew up in
nothing against you, but your child is like in his teens, so I have no frame of reference for you.
Right, you don't,
So
your son is 15? 14? He'll be 15?
Yeah, in September, so right on.
He's a preteen going into straight up teenager now.
He's done baking. You just got to frost him at this point.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Because I honestly, this is all I ever want is my own family. So it's a dream come true to be able to have something of mine.
Right.
Especially because I'm so disconnected with my own extended family that this is a big deal. So I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Since we're talking about families and shit, and I think I already know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Your family, were you by them or anybody close to you or whatever when you were an adolescent? Were you raised religious or surrounded by heavy politics?
Heavy politics.
I know both of those answers. So
Heavy politics.
a little bit.
Growing up, no. My dad became a politician for a couple years in my early 20s, early to mid 20s. He was in the Minnesota House of Representatives.
He ran for city something.
He ran for Minnesota House of Representatives twice. He lost the second race, but he won the first one.
I would say, but that was like what, like 5 years ago, wasn't it? That he ran a second time.
I don't think he's run another campaign yet. I think he's been kind of soured on politics.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't really all that long ago because I remember seeing the signs and stuff.
Right. No. Yeah.
All over the
it
place.
might have been my late 20s. He spent a couple years in there, and then the second campaign he lost.
So was he preachy on the politics to you?
Not to me.
Okay.
I think he knew better. I tried to distance myself from that sort of stuff, especially when it came to him. Like, people had on occasion asked me, like, "Oh, do you agree with his politics?" And I said, that's his stuff. I have my own beliefs. I'm not going to comment on it. Which he thought was very democratic and political.
Of course you would.
It's just me being like, I don't want to get into the fucking conversation.
Yeah,
like,
those conversations are boring.
and I can't just tell people, hey, eat a dick, leave me alone.
not to call him out or anything, but just his name alone,
Yeah.
is too much to handle.
Yeah. My dad's first name is King.
Oh, fuck.
So, yeah.
So politics was right up his alley.
Oh, my God.
But going back to the question, so I didn't do a whole lot with politics when I was younger. I didn't really do anything with church either, other than my babysitter, I believe, when I was like 4 or 5, took me to a Catholic church a couple times. But I don't remember it that well. I think I remember being at a Catholic mass once. But my family wasn't Catholic. My family was Lutheran, I believe. Or Methodist. Methodist. That sounds about right. My parents actually met in church. They were in the choir together, and they went to high school together. So my parents met through those means. But my grandparents, when I would go stay with my grandparents up in Maine, they went to a Methodist church. So I went to a Methodist church with them every weekend. I stayed with them, whether it be for sunrise service, which was terrible, or to just regular service. But I didn't do a whole. My family on my mom's side, especially, didn't really observe religion. And especially after my mom died, my grandmother had a lot of problems with God after that. Because in her words, no parent should ever have to bury a child. Yeah, which I agree with.
Mm-hmm. And your mom died of cancer.
Yep. So yeah, she had cancer. It started on her kidney. She had that removed, but it moved throughout her lower system. So I think she died of uterine cancer, I believe, was the thing that finally killed her. But she struggled with that for about a year or so before she passed. And we spent 2 years living in Montana, where I attended a Baptist church for about a year. But that was more, I think, because the neighbor kids who I was friends with went to church, and I just wanted to do something with them. So like I went to church too.
That was the hangout spot.
Yeah. Well, I lived in a little town called Roundup, Montana. And
seems very appropriate for Montana too.
Yeah. And I lived in a trailer. The trailer I lived in was 5 miles outside of town. And they lived further down the road than I did.
Oh, okay.
So the church actually sent a small bus to pick us up.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me the story about your mom would go out and shoot something and bring it home for dinner.
Oh yeah, we poached because we were poor.
Yep.
So we poached. Mom would go out and fucking hunt and bring home deer or antelope, and while her boyfriend was out installing satellite dishes.
Right. See, to me, that is just amazing though to think about.
Right.
My mom got shit done.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole thing. Like my mom got shit done when it needed to be done.
not to like, necessarily interrupt, but I think that's something that I find quite fascinating about the stories you've told me about your mother. Is that right there? Is she's a strong woman, strong independent woman. She didn't need a man. And you've met my mother.
Yeah.
She's the same way. Like my mother's very strong, independent woman. She gets shit done when she needs to. And like that is something I think is fascinating.
I feel like my mom was a bit more of a roughneck. Like one of my favorite stories is how she gave her boyfriend a black eye. My mother, this is when we lived out in Montana. My mother, I don't know what prompted it, but she rolled over and she, in the middle of the night, shaking her boyfriend. She's like, Bill, wake up. He's, what? He rolled over, was like, what? And she just cold cocked him in the face and then rolled over and went back to sleep. Got up the next morning and his eye was swollen.
Just because he said what the wrong way?
I don't know. We've never gotten a straight story on why she hit him.
But he probably deserved it.
Yeah, he probably deserved it. But yeah, he got up the next morning and he looked like he'd gotten hit.
Boxer face.
Like his eye was swollen. We're like, what happened? He was like, shut up. But that also, like, it was probably to her detriment because there is speculation that my mom knew she was sick way back when we were in Montana. Mm-hmm. And we came back and we didn't know, she didn't really get diagnosed or get really sick for another year and a half.
So she probably kept it to herself.
So yeah, there's speculation that she knew she was sick back then and that's why she left him. Those type of
personalities, that's what they do.
Honestly, though,
it's something I would probably fucking do.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I struggle with that idea. I think about it quite a bit. Yeah. Probably more often than I should. And I'm like, man, if I get sick, do I want to tell anybody? Just let me die all of a sudden, and then nobody has to know. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, it's like maybe I'll just separate myself and go crawl in a cave.
Yeah,
like a wounded animal.
Yeah.
Or I'll just hide under the couch until a stink comes by, like cats do. Anyway.
What kind of couch has space for you to hide under?
I would just get squished.
Yes, you would.
Just squish. It'd be weird, awkward.
So you are making a squish. Just
anyway.
Drop a brick on a frog.
That was your question, right?
That was my last question, yes.
Yeah.
So you kind of keep this existential concept going on. But how is it that I got to know how you deal or how you dealt with the death of your mother, but in the idea, in the spectrum idea of death as a whole, as an idea to a form, to a culture, to whatever you want to look at it, how accepting or comfortable do you find yourself with thinking about death?
You know, that's actually very interesting because I was talking to somebody yesterday about death, and you know, she was talking about her ex-fiance and you know, how he wanted to like find ways to live longer and live forever, and I was like, that just reeks of fear. And you know, and the thing of it is like, it's not like I know I said this last week, like I've had the impulses to end my own life, like, are there sometimes. Like, I won't deny it. Like, I have those impulses, but like, there's also like a sense of apathy to it. Like, it's just a lot of hullabaloo for not a lot of payoff. But as far as death goes, like, it's inevitable. You can't be afraid of it. I mean, I'm not going to go seeking it. Admittedly, I don't take great care of myself, but like, I don't do things to like really shorten my life. Like I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I drink some, but I mean, it's not like I'm a heavy drinker either.
Yeah, you're more of a social drinker. Yeah. It's usually when you're over here.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not looking to die anytime soon, but like, you know, I have no illusions that I'm going to live an extensively long time. And that's just how it is. Like that's, you know, everyone's given an expiration date. It sucks, but I mean, it happens and you don't get to know it. So it's just kind of what it is.
Would you want to know?
No, wouldn't change anything.
Just leave it as a surprise.
You know, honestly, like we try to keep the movie stuff out of here, but there's a line from the 13th Warrior that really,
Love that movie.
it's a great movie. When he looks at Antonio Banderas, he says, the skein of your life was written a long time ago. You can go run and hide, but you're not going to live any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of live by that rule. Like, my number's up when my number's up. And it may suck for others, but there's not much I can do about it. So it is what it is.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Well, it's very insightful, which is the whole point, but
Right.
it's very insightful.
Yeah.
Jason, did you learn? Did you learn a lot? Do you feel like you gotten closer to Aram?
That's one way to say it, yeah.
I mean, you could scoot one seat over and you'd be a lot closer.
Well,
right?
Next time we set up the cameras and I do have to sit closer to him, I'll feel more comfortable.
Right.
No, just kidding. Yeah, definitely.
I just don't want anybody to like see goth makeup like being painted on my face during this whole interview.
It's more like psychopathic clown makeup. ICP.
I'm not a juggalo.
And speaking of which, you said Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Is that the band? Is that referencing the band because they have simple ass music?
That's a term that was taught to me in culinary school.
Oh, okay.
I learned it a long time ago.
It's not a reference to the band because their music is simple as fuck.
No.
I don't. When you get to know me better, you'll understand that I don't listen to Kiss.
I don't
think anybody here
I don't
does.
think anybody
Yeah.
here does. Yeah. Yeah, I never heard about that before, and I liked it. And I like it even more that it's not a reference to the band Kiss. But I got nothing else
All right.
till
Let's,
the next episode.
Yeah, let's close out then. And this was Aram's interview. And check out the last episode for my interview.
Yeah.
And then next interview will be Jason. I'm actually pretty excited because I haven't known you for a very long time. I've known Aram for a long
You
time.
guys, we got your decade
So.
friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm the newcomer here, yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, we clicked.
You and I
Yeah.
worked together, so I've
Yeah.
obviously gotten to know you more.
You're
But
definitely the wild card.
yay!
So yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you for listening. Catch you later.
Thanks.
Bye.